It was definitely a free fall.
You would think that you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy. Clearly, she's not remembering who they let out.
Brittney Griner is in a full-blown meltdown after the medical board dropped bombshell revelations about her anatomy. High testosterone levels and a skeletal structure defying expectations have sparked intense debate. No one saw this coming, but everyone has an opinion. If the WNBA thought this could be swept under the rug, they've got another thing coming.
You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America, on home soil, would not have too much to complain about.
Brittney Griner's shocking medical details have blown up the internet, and honestly, it feels like we've all stepped into the most dramatic sports soap opera. You know, Griner is synonymous with towering dunks and fiery on-court presence.
Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison.
But now, she's under a microscope for reasons no one saw coming. Her biological eligibility for women's sports. Yes, you heard that right. The same player who's been dominating the court with physicality and aggression now finds herself at the center of a scandal that's shaking the very foundation of women's basketball.
Reacted to this. Here's Brittney Griner. They're playing against the Indiana Fever.
But let's rewind a bit to what ignited this dumpster fire of controversy. It all started with a game against none other than Caitlin Clark. Tensions were already high, but Griner took it to a whole new level when she elbowed Clark mid-game with what can only be described as calculated force. Not just a tap, folks, a full-blown elbow.
She is really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents.
And if that wasn't enough to make headlines, her next move ensured it.
Trash effing white girl.
Griner was caught on camera hurling a racial slur, reportedly calling Clark a trash effing white girl. Are you serious, girl? We're in 2025 and you still judge people based on their skin color. But the recent elbow scene has brought the internet on fire. Observations from sports medicine professionals has blown the internet. Now, we're not talking about casual remarks or vague speculation.
It doesn't matter what sport you are. It doesn't matter what sport you pick.
Experts went deep, analyzing Griner's bone structure, muscle composition, and overall skeletal frame. And the findings? Let's just say they raised more than a few eyebrows. The word discrepancy doesn't even begin to cover it. They found characteristics more commonly associated with male athletes. Think larger bone density, increased muscle mass, and skeletal proportions that didn't quite align with the typical female athlete profile.
It might have given me a nightmare or two, but it's important, I think, that you told this story.
And as she says, the whole thing is toxic.
Let's get real for a second. What exactly put Brittney Griner under the microscope? The whispers started with observations that were hard to ignore. Broad shoulders that could rival a linebacker's, a jawline sharper than most razors, and muscle development that didn't just stand out. It practically screamed for attention. And no, this wasn't some one-off comment from armchair critics. These traits formed a pattern that became undeniable as more eyes started paying closer attention.
And it's disgusting. Okay, that's why nobody watches it.
Then came the AI. Yes, the bots aren't just out here curating playlists and predicting weather. They're analyzing physiques now too. When an AI detection system flagged Griner's anatomy, it wasn't just human speculation anymore. It was cold, hard data, adding fuel to an already blazing fire. Now, if you thought the revelations themselves were the pinnacle of drama, buckle up, because the fallout was an entirely different beast. The timeline alone reads like a soap opera script. On June 7th, 2025, the first reports trickled in. Griner was in what could only be described as full-on panic mode.
It was just like, you ever been so scared? Like something just really like to the core.
And then came the leaks. Medical reports spilled out, including hormone treatments, testosterone suppression. By June 9th, this wasn't just a trending topic, it was a full-blown media circus. Every outlet, every social media feed, it was Griner 24/7. By June 13th, the leaked photo showing Griner's alleged estrogen treatments sent the controversy into overdrive. The league was accused of double standards, and fans began questioning if this was an isolated incident or the tip of the iceberg. But the real kicker came shortly after. Amid the whirlwind of controversy, one alleged remark lit up the sports world like a firework. "I'm a grown man." Whether it was a sarcastic retort, a slip of the tongue, or something else entirely, it didn't matter. The damage was done and the shockwaves were seismic.
Only you could have been in the situation that you were in.
For Griner, the stakes couldn't be higher. Her legacy, her career, and even her financial future hung in the balance. Sponsors were reportedly rethinking their partnerships, and the court of public opinion was anything but kind. And for the WNBA, the implications went even deeper. This wasn't just about one player, it was about the league's credibility, its policies, and its commitment to fairness in women's sports.
The fact that it does is disturbing. I'll leave it at that.
So here we are. A scandal that started with a clash on the court has spiraled into a full-blown crisis for women's basketball. Griner's panic isn't just personal, it's a symptom of a much larger issue that's shaking the foundation of competitive sports. The fallout has only just begun, and the ripple effects, well, those are going to be felt for a long, long time. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because this story is just getting started.
This is why the WNBA is never, ever, ever going to work.
Let me take you back to the part where the medical professionals started dissecting Brittney Griner like a science project, and boy, did they find some interesting data. We're not talking about just above-average athleticism here. Nope, this is next-level stuff. Turns out Brittney's bone density could probably survive a car crash, and her muscle composition is the kind of thing gym rats dream of. Injury recovery, practically superhuman.
She said when we lost all respect for her when she said...
But wait, it doesn't stop at biology. Let's talk behavior. Because Griner's antics on the court aren't just aggressive, they're downright theatrical.
It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's not confidence, it's arrogance with receipts.
Sports psychologists are out here connecting the dots, pointing out that her pattern of physical intimidation screams of someone deflecting attention from something bigger. Like, Brittney, we see you elbowing players half your size. Do you really think that's fooling anyone? It's not just about the trash talk or the physicality. It's the vibe, the overcompensation, the defensive attitude. It all reeks of a deeper identity conflict.
That feeling is what went through my whole body.
And here's the kicker. Living a double life like this isn't just stressful, it's exhausting. All the posturing, the victim mentality, the lashing out, it makes sense when you realize it might be a coping mechanism for years of hiding something. Brittney's story isn't just unfolding, it's unraveling, one revelation at a time.
You should have enough confidence in the calls that they made to at least discuss. You should be able to at least discuss something.
Now let's zoom out a bit, shall we? Because this scandal doesn't just belong to Griner. It's exposing cracks in the foundation of women's sports as a whole. Think about it. What does it mean for a sport built on fair competition when someone with such glaring biological advantages dominates? Spoiler alert, it's a disaster waiting to happen. This isn't just basketball we're talking about. If these findings hold up, the ripple effects could hit every sport.
Understandable, but it's not about Caitlin Clark. It's about what she represents. My point is, grow up.
Women have fought tooth and nail for decades to carve out spaces where they can compete on a level playing field. And now, this scandal threatens to undo all that progress. The calls for stricter testing protocols and clearer eligibility standards are growing louder, and honestly, who can blame them?
And this is exactly what Caitlin Clark gets for bending the knee.
Then there's the psychological toll on other athletes like Caitlin Clark, walking into a game knowing you're up against not just superior skill, but unfair advantages that shouldn't even be in play. That's not competition, that's a rigged system. Clark's resilience is inspiring, but let's not pretend this hasn't left a scar. The emotional and mental strain of competing under these conditions is unimaginable, and frankly, it's unacceptable.
To make excuses and continue making excuses if there is no solution for it.
And don't think for a second that the WNBA is skating past this untouched. If you've been watching how they've handled, or rather mishandled, this situation, you're probably rolling your eyes harder than Clark dodging Griner's elbow. For a league that loves to preach about fairness and equality, their silence on this matter is deafening.
We're going to start training our referees better, or we're going to start paying them more, or we're going to get in better people in order to make some of these games watchable. I don't like to make excuses.
Here's the deal. The WNBA has a history of hyping itself up as the gold standard of women's sports. But when it comes to actual accountability, crickets. The lack of rigorous testing protocols, the apparent favoritism, the selective outrage, it's all coming back to bite them. Were they turning a blind eye to Griner's advantages, or were they just hoping no one would notice? Either way, it's not a good look. And let's talk money, because if there's one thing that makes organizations squirm, it's the thought of losing cash. Sponsors, endorsements, ticket sales, they're all at risk here. Why would anyone invest in a league that can't guarantee fair play? This isn't just a PR nightmare. It's a financial disaster waiting to implode. So where does that leave us? Griner's scandal isn't just her downfall. It's dragging the WNBA down with it. The league's credibility is on the line, and unless they start answering the tough questions, they might not recover from this. The stakes are higher than ever and the clock is ticking. Hit like and subscribe to the channel to get more news about women's basketball.